trying to measure it.
All right, I'm gonna call tonight's mobility board meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. and we will start with the roll call. Charlotte Ford.
Here.
Bob Garrity. Present here.
All right.
Lisa Herm.
Here.
I don't think we have Eric. Taryn Malavie Bab online.
Here, yep.
Got sound. Elizabeth McCabe.
Here.
John Reagan.
Here.
Right, and Brooke Webb on. Right, we have our staff liaison, Rudy Sukel.
Here.
And commission liaison, Andrew Flynn.
Here.
Our engineers, Mr. Haber.
Here.
And Chief Haberman, our police liaison. All right, cool. With that, I would start with the meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
And a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Motion passes. I will start with the citizens' comments. We have 2 folks signed up. Looks like we have several online, so we'll start with the people in the room. Just a reminder, if you can please come to the front and state your name and address. You'll have 5 minutes to speak to the board, and we will go from there. For the folks online, if you do wish to speak, please raise your hand. We will then ask you to unmute yourselves, and you'll have the same period of time. We will start with Christine Nightingale.
Hi, I'm Christine Nightingale. I live at 799 Ellis Street, and I'm here to request that the board consider our street for an engineering study for a sidewalk. Ellis Street is about 1 block, and it's a major meeting point for the Safe Walk program that takes children up to Jefferson Elementary and Middle. My house at 799 is the arrow that says you are here. I live right at the bottom of that hill. I don't believe that there are problems that can be solved, but I do think that our street would be much safer if we had a sidewalk on our street, because it's such a major central walking point. It would decrease traffic and congestion around the schools if the children had a place further from the school to be dropped off for walking. It would stretch that walk further going, because then they would be able to walk. If you looked backward from coming down from Jefferson, they would have crossing guards to cross them over. Then they would walk down, we call it the wormhole, the little sidewalk. And then they would be able to continue down Ella toward either Parkview or Salem. So it would disperse the safety issue of having children walking on the street. They would be a little safer, a little further from the school. When they come out, they are full of energy. They run without looking. It would give them naturally a way to continue safely, energetically leaving the school. Those are the points that I wanted to make, because I witness this every day. And what I do think is that the community would benefit greatly from having that extra measure of safety on that 1 little block of Mount Lebanon that services, really, with the middle school, half of our school district. Since we do go not just to the elementary, but the middle on that sidewalk. And I know that my neighbor has presented a PowerPoint that she's submitted for the board, and she's on here as well. So with that, I can be done. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Bill Bates.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here, but for a troubling situation in the neighborhood which my wife and I live. My wife is Maggie McDermott. Back the room, I'm Bill Bates. I'm a retired architect and a professor at CMU, but we live at near the intersection of Beverly Road and Marla Drive West. And over the years, in the 47 years that we've lived there, we've witnessed more frequent accidents at that intersection. And these are not small fender benders. As you know, Beverly Road is a main artery which really makes up Route 19 extension. going down to Banksville Road. And so there's heavy traffic on that, well over 10,000 cars a day. And our side street of Beverly, which crosses, our side street of Marlin Drive West, which crosses Beverly, is a shortcut. And people speed on this street. We've seen people violating the speed limit, going both directions on our street. And there's this stop sign at the intersection on both sides of Beverly at Marlin Drive West. But oftentimes the speeders ignore that stop sign and rush through a crossing, an illegal crossing, without stopping through Beverly. And there have been accidents, numerous accidents over the past few years, which have resulted in cars being towed, police being called to the scene, as well as the fire department and ambulances. And a number of the cars have been hit so violently, they've been knocked into the houses on the corner, the intersection. And one such accident resulted with a pickup truck overturned on the sidewalk. Now, the road, if you're familiar with Beverly Road, the sidewalks are the main thoroughfare for students traveling to and from Beverly, Lincoln School, as well as the middle school and the high school. So there's quite a few children at various times of the day who cross that road and walk along the sidewalks. And we feel that a solution to this would be speed bumps on our street. There's a visibility issue at the intersection as you travel north on Marlin West. And if you look west from that stop sign, there's a break in the hill at Beverly, and that limits visibility there. So it's difficult for people to see cars that are coming up that hill and until the last minute. And oftentimes people make a dash and they pay the price for it. And we're concerned that pedestrians are going to pay the price. And we hope that we can avoid this by slowing traffic down before they get to the sign. And it's possible that it might be enhanced by having a fisheye lens mirror on one of the stop signs there. We've taken advantage of the opportunity to share a petition with you. We've got over 20 houses who've signed this petition. And we'll leave this with you, as well as a letter requesting your consideration, and hope that you'll take a look at the situation and we might be able to improve it before another accident occurs. It's been probably 1 to 2 accidents a year over the past few years. And you can check the police reports and they'll verify the information that I've given you. Hope that I've not run over your time. Any questions?
No, I think, I don't know that we'll have any solutions for you tonight, but we'll take this petition and letter into account and likely put it, I don't know if we'll have it on the agenda for next month to discuss, or at least maybe put it on to evaluate what's happening there. But
Should I come back then to just in case?
I would, if you've left your email,
it's
I would
on.
want to make sure that we let you know if it's gonna be on the agenda or not.
Perfect.
And not put it out there that you just have to keep monitoring it, but,
Okay.
so.
Fair enough.
Is there a crossing guard there?
No, there's not, because it's a few blocks from the Beverly Shops. If you're familiar with that area, there is a crossing guard at Beverly Shops, but Marlin is a confusing street. You've got 2 legs, Marlin East and Marlin West, and each leg crosses Beverly.
Mhm.
So what happens is that there's no crossing guard at either of those.
Yeah.
Marlin East is a little safer because Beverly Road is flat on both sides of that intersection. But on Marlin West, it drops off on the one side, on the west side. And so it does make it hazardous, hard for traffic to see as they're coming along Beverly, and hard for anyone crossing Beverly to see oncoming traffic.
So
Yes,
Marlin West is just a little, it's the block further.
just a
from
block further.
Beverly Shops.
Yeah, if you think of a Y,
Yep.
the shape of a Y. Marlin on the other side of Bower Hill is the single street, but once it crosses Bower Hill, going towards Beverly, it splits, and to the right is Marlin East, to the left is Marlin West. Okay. So I'll leave this in your hands and
Okay.
wait for your,
Thank you, Bill.
notification. Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
All right, I see we have Elaine Kramer with their hand raised online. You're gonna be allowed to talk. Please unmute yourself and you'll have time to speak.
Thank you. First of all, hi to Mr. Sukol and Mr. Flynn and to my friends on the mobility board. I'm appreciate this chance to be here. My name's Elaine Kramer and I'm a resident of 783 Ella. And also thanks to Christine, my neighbor. Like her, I'm here to ask the board to add Ella Street to your list of places to be investigated as important for a new sidewalk. You should have received an email via Mr. Sukol that included a PowerPoint that gave you the basics. And so I'm not going to go over all those points here. I'll trust that you'll look at that as you have the opportunity if you haven't already. But I would like to strike a few main points. One is that the street is within a few hundred yards of Jefferson Middle and Jefferson Elementary School. And as such, it falls in one of the municipality's high priority buckets of where sidewalks should be added over time. And second, I want to mention that we have collected signatures on a petition included on the PowerPoint that constitute 25% of property owners on the street, which as best I can understand from the website and a story in Mount Lebanon magazine, that those were the two things that are sort of crucial for getting on the list for investigation. So that hence our appearance here this evening. This is what we're asking for. Some of you know already that Ella Street is an unofficial drop-off and pickup street for students. And there is a right-of-way sidewalk that runs midway up, halfway up Ella Street over to Bower Hill Road. And there's a crossing guard at Bower Hill to escort students across safely. So the safety problem occurs on Ella Street itself. For an hour each in the morning and then in the afternoon, cars both arrive and depart from both sides of the street. And so children heading to or from that cut-through sidewalk to Bower Hill have to dodge those vehicles. Some kids walk right up the middle of the street because the cars are at the curb on both sides. They're really everywhere and it's completely unregulated. As Christine said, in the afternoon when kids come home from school, they pour out of that sidewalk and they're in their own heads. They're talking to their friends. They're looking for their parents with their cars and they just go right through, right across the, Ella Street without looking both ways. And then to complicate things even further, visibility is tricky because of grade change. The cut-through sidewalk that I mentioned up to Bower Hill meets Ella Street at the crest of the lower hill on Ella Street. And because it's just at that crest, drivers and pedestrians cannot see each other adequately. The sight lines are really limited. And these circumstances together just make, create unmanaged traffic, unmanaged pedestrian traffic, and that creates a dangerous situation. So we'd love for you to please consider moving our request on to Gateway Engineers for, appropriate assessment of our street as a potential location for a new sidewalk. We need your help on this and we need a sidewalk. So thank you for hearing us out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Elaine. Go to Lindsay Cashman. Will be asked to unmute and please state your name and address.
Hi, that's perfect. I'm Lindsay Cashman from 820 Ellis Street, just up the block from Elaine. And I'm the one who asked for the engineering request years ago when they did come out and they did the assessment. And this was before you had the sidewalk program in place. And so that was not an option. And they determined that putting in signs that said no stopping, standing, or parking allowed kind of in that little zone, I believe it's maybe 75 feet from the crosswalk, would help to mitigate the issue. I can tell you that every once in a while, there's a little bit of a police presence and people pay attention for 30 seconds and then don't park there. But in general, it's a rolling, stopping, blocking, all of the things thing. The signs don't help. They're also unfortunately minimally angled the wrong direction, which doesn't allow people to read them properly, which is a little bit of an issue. But nothing has changed. I came to the meeting years ago because I was concerned, because I was seeing kids getting almost hit, you know, maybe just a little nick on an elbow or whatever. And literally nothing has changed since that assessment happened. It's actually almost worse, I think, if not actually worse, just due to more people saying, hey, this is where we got to do our drop off. They've kind of gotten sick of the go zones, and they find us to be a better option, especially with the elementary and middle having the go zone that is combined at Jefferson. It gets quite complicated. As both Elaine and Christine said, the kids really do just come flying, running down that hill, because it's not a flat sidewalk from Bower Hill down to Ella. It is a steep grade that when I was pregnant and walking down it in winter, I can tell you I was terrified that I didn't want to slip on the ice because it is a decent grade. So they come flying down there and they just come flying across, and there are cars going both directions blocking the road. As Elaine said, my biggest concern, and the concern that I brought up when they did the initial assessment before, was that it is at that blind crest of the hill. And in the afternoon, especially, so in the morning, cars are kind of moving, right? They're dropping kids and they're getting out. In the afternoon, there are a ton of cars parked, waiting for the children to come out, as well as cars moving. In the afternoon, you're looking almost directly west into the setting sun or the high in the sky sun, depending upon the month. And it is impossible to really see coming up the hill in general, besides it being at the crest of the hill and not knowing that the crosswalk is there. If we were to potentially get a sidewalk or something that could be traffic calming, I would really like them to be paying attention to the sun, the parked cars, the actual crest of the hill, and really notice the way that the kids are running. If Salem were to get sidewalks as well, you would be connecting a middle school and elementary school, the main recreation park, and the high school just from doing Ella and Salem. And Salem, as we know, is a high traffic cut through, which is why somebody put up a random sign that was telling people how speeding they were going at one point, and it was taken down because it wasn't official, I guess, but because people are concerned, right? So I just hope that you will consider us. And I do think that part of the solution is also working with the school district and specifically the middle school, working on a better communication plan as to how to utilize or not utilize Ella for official, unofficial pickup stuff. Because, you know, that helps when people get a little bit more information from both the municipality and the school district. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We would love to see our families and children safer.
Thank you.
Lindsay, is there a particular side that you would propose?
So I live on the opposite side of Elaine and Christine, and we both have the issues, and we are at different parts of the road. I can't see you, sweetheart. The kids are trying to hop on and show you their faces. But I think honestly, either side could work. I know that part of the issue is looking at, you know, where there's retaining walls and where there's old growth trees and stuff like that. And looking at it with my, you know, untrained eye to that, it looks like they're both kind of similar. The thing that I think would be more helpful though, is probably the farther side if you were going to link to Salem, because then it gets people across Bower Hill with the crossing guard, down the hill of the sidewalk thing. And then they would have this, crosswalk there that leads, which still would need mitigation. It would still need people, maybe like some bright yellow painting in the crosswalk to show, hey, pay attention. And then you get across the street and you can go up to Parkview, and you're on a good side when you get up to Parkview, and you can go down to Salem and you're on the side that would then continue to the new lighted crosswalk with the flashy crossing thing when you're getting to the tennis center area. Sorry, I don't know the technical terms.
Yeah.
But that would be my assumption. But honestly, I think that both sides could work. And,
Right.
and people would utilize it and it would make a difference. There is one house that already has sidewalk on my side, which is the other side, the side that is closer to Bower Hill. So that would be one area, and they just had to redo it because they did something else a few years ago. So there's one yard that already has it randomly. But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question just broadly to the folks submitting? And I'm genuinely curious because I've used that space, right? I've dropped my kids off. I've driven through there many times. As residents, right, I'm somewhat surprised that you're not saying, can we close the access? Right, that's one point, right? Because again, that would mitigate the problem, right? It would move it, but it would mitigate it from Ella's perspective. The other side of it is, have you thought about, other approaches than just sidewalks, right? Because sidewalks are only one solution to this challenge, right? I mean, there's, as you've all articulated, cars being parked, very densely, is also part of the challenge, that the space is dealing with. And, maybe there are other things that we could be thinking about rather than just putting sidewalks in.
May I answer?
No, please.
This is Christine. So actually, other neighbors have petitioned in the past requesting speed bumps. We were told that speed bumps would not help. But if that is also possibly the result of an engineering study, we have been receptive to the idea of putting speed bumps on the street as well, especially because we have a downslope, a flat area, and then another downslope. We think that that would be great for controlling speed, which would mitigate some of the problem. It would be a different solution to the same problem, which is safety. That's what we're most interested in, is safety. So any solutions that are available to us, we are open to. Seeing that this one is being considered right now and on the table is why we chose to approach the board at this time. Thank
And-
you.
This is Elaine. Commissioner Flynn, I know one idea could be to turn the street into a one-way street. It would have to be one-way uphill so that because in order to get access to Bower Hill Road at a traffic signal. When we were collecting signatures for the petition, the question was a sidewalk. I almost feel like it would need a completely different consideration by our neighbors as to whether they would feel how that would land with them, how the idea of a one-way street would land with folks. I personally would not be opposed, but I 100% don't want to speak for my neighbors.
No, I appreciate that. And I was just curious again, because it's more than just, that one, dynamic of kids walking. Yeah, there's a whole range of issues. And again, as Ms. Kramer, as I'm sure you know, we're working on the active transportation plan now, which, might extend the discussion a little bit, but it might offer broader solutions to how we think about kids and families moving through that broader space. Because this is just one, as I think Ms. Cashman noted, it's just one piece of this overarching puzzle of go zones and, yeah, how people are moving their kids in and out of the school.
Yeah, and I would just like to respond to that, Commissioner Flynn, that, you know, as I said, I came to the board many years ago with this issue, and the ideas that we brought forth were speed humps, just because they actually make you slow down, as well as when they paint the crosswalk brighter or a different color to make it pop more than those two standard little white lines. You know, I know flashing lights or even just a brighter sign, please stop doing that, you know, really tells people that there's something to be warned about and people are paying more attention can help, right? But the bigger issue is making a space there where people can safely walk. And so there might be something even with more enforcement of the signs, and angling the signs so people can see them, that starts to open up the area right where the crosswalk is, but it's absolutely not the whole solution. Because even when they've done that for a few days and people kind of calm it down, it's still a safety issue. Kids are still running. There's still speed. There's still cars that aren't really looking. And it's just, as you specifically said, a bunch of congestion of a bunch of cars and people all at once. So it's a couple hours a day that are very intense, especially with very small people, right? And the small people are not seen as easily as those of us who are 6'2".
What year was the prior study done again? Or
I was going to check my email before we started, but we've been eating, so I have not. I can look and I can email you all or something.
Ballpark?
My guess would be 6 or 7 years ago.
Did you have little kids in your house at that time, Lindsay?
I did. They were very little, which was all the
Okay.
more concerning.
You'd say 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I think this is. I'm gonna say we add this as a new business item. I don't know that we have solutions right now to many of the layers, but I wanna just discuss it more, and I appreciate if you haven't taken a chance to see Elaine's presentation. Not everybody can do that. I know Elaine has a special set of skills, but it was really well done, and I appreciate all the context there. But just to keep us moving, and I don't want to cut anyone off, but I think we have good things to talk about and a lot of material to talk about and think about what our recommendation is from this board up the chain.
Thank you. Thanks so much. We will stay tuned. This is exactly what we hoped, is that you would, you know, listen, hear us, understand at least the points we're raising and take it under consideration. And we know you'll give it thought and all due attention. So thanks so much.
Thank you. I see several more people online as attendees, but no hands raised. I just wanted to give a final call for anyone that may want to make public comment that is online. In order to do so, you need to raise your hand and then you will be requested to unmute. The Amy, Kristen Shockey, Dave Kraut, and MK, which seems to be a regular attendee, but final call. All right, no hands up. We'll move on to chairperson's report. Okay, so I appreciated all of that commentary. I will say that, you know, the active transportation plan's out there, and we've talked about that a lot. They've done a good job of taking their big map, and kudos to, I know some folks on this call were part of that team and the outreach team. They've taken the big map around to the schools and had kids interact with that map. It's fantastic. They're doing it both. I don't know, we're still very early in that plan. And I think the most critical element is when that plan is done, putting funding behind it to implement the recommendations. That's putting the funding and the personnel behind that to make the recommendations. That was a big takeaway. I attended the Vision Zero Summit hosted here in Pittsburgh in Oakland. I know John Reagan, another board member, also attended that. While it was mostly focused on the city of Pittsburgh, there were a lot of big takeaways, like what the city has been able to do from a safety and response perspective, the creation of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, bringing several entities under one umbrella to push that forward and putting personnel behind it. A really strong takeaway was the Fatal Crash Response Group. They have a group of several folks from public safety, police, fire, what have you, from the mayor's office, from these groups, and they respond to every fatal crash in the city of Pittsburgh. That may not seem like a lot, but they respond and they try to go at the time when a crash occurred. They try to go when and document the weather. I would also point to the city of Pittsburgh has created a crash dashboard where you can see every crash and the metrics behind that. To Mr. Bates' commentary, he talked about all these crashes and being able to find it. I don't know if there's a dashboard, and often there's a long delay. He said Marlin West was a little bit better. Marlin East actually had a fatality, was with a vehicular fatality. So that stretch of road is extremely dangerous. I think all of these things are going to be identified. And finally, the city or the county is doing a safety action plan. Their current target for Vision Zero safety action plan. For those that don't know about Vision Zero, it's a commitment to zero deaths, zero injuries on our roads. They've set a target of 2075. I don't know how old everyone else will be in here, but I'll be 90 years old. I don't think that's an acceptable target. My children in school will be close to 60 years old. So, but what they are coming out of that with is a high injury network. It's part of an identification process, which I think we'll also see in the active transportation plan. Several streets and roads are within Mount Lebanon's border that have been identified on a high injury network. And so a response to that, to eliminate those, I would love to see come out of the active transportation plan and further forward. So finally, I just wanted to touch on the aspect of our sidewalk policy, the traffic calming policy. We have many policies, and there is a subcommittee focused on this. Considering some of these recommendations, we've made recommendations to commission. Some of the policies, to be frank, I think are set up to not to say no. Traffic calming, we've gone through the process several times and it's usually resulted in a no, not recommended. So we've got a lot of work to do on the policy subcommittee and street design subcommittee. And we will take some of this commentary to account and take it forward. But I think the current traffic calming policy would probably say do nothing on Marlin Drive West, to be honest. And I'm hoping we can come up with better solutions through this board, through our committees, but a lot of the power rests with commission and the power of the budget. And I would encourage everyone to look at the budget and see where the money is going, and encourage you to comment at public hearings for that budget. So with that, I will go to the commission liaison report.
And it's budget season. So if you want to comment on the budget, it is coming. I appreciate Seth's commentary. It's we do have a lot on our plate right now. It is budget season. The manager's recommended budget has been released. Hearings and discussions start tomorrow. I actually don't have it in front of me, so I'm not sure which groups are going first tomorrow, but again, the process is actually pretty concentrated this year. We should have all the hearings done in the next couple of weeks. But there's always opportunity during commission meetings for the public to comment, and we do welcome them. As Seth suggested, right, there is a lot of priorities. There's a lot of challenges, as we all know, right? It's the changing world. So we do need to be thoughtful about how we are budgeting. But as I think you all know, I am also very much inclined toward investing proactively in our infrastructure, but we have to balance that with keeping the ship floating. So again, it's always, there are always trade-offs. I think staff have done a fantastic job this year of putting together a budget that is very thoughtful in a challenging times. The manager has put forward good recommendations. I don't think we will all agree on everything, but I think we're in a good starting place to be having these conversations. And I would always suggest that, from our perspective, yes, we do want to be making recommendations around things like, where we should be putting sidewalks. But ultimately, the long-term success is going to be in how we implement policies that are going to inform decision-making processes in the future. So again, as we, there's only so much money to go around in any given year. So how are we deciding to make investments incrementally over time? That's really where the changes are going to be made. So while I agree that 2075 is a long ways away, that's frankly probably realistic from an infrastructure perspective. We can paint faster than that, but we can't build, every street faster than that.
Helsinki, Finland did it in 10 years. True, so aim higher is where I'm.
Yeah, that's fair. But again, it's like, what are the policy frameworks that are going to get to yes? Rather than no, right? And as I've suggested to several people, I think commission, is very much willing to be proactive, right? But again, it's a question of, what are the steps? So from a policy perspective, how do we get to yes? No is the wrong answer. It's always the wrong answer. These are our public rights of way, right? They are our streets. But that doesn't mean just it's yes or no. It's a continuum of how does policy inform a decision-making process rather than just create a no. So that's what I'm always thinking about. Again, budget is a tactical exercise, right? It's an annual thing that happens every year. But policy is going to be there forever. So how do we make sure that policy is informing the budget process every year going forward? But that said, again, I think, every person's opinions on the budget is important. Bring it forward. Come, talk to us civilly, please. Always welcome that. That's all I've got.
I will go to Mr. Sukol.
So the report, since last meeting in October, been focusing mostly on leaf collection this time of the year and prepping for winter, but, the one item that I will, or two items, we did install a stop sign that was recommended by the board to the manager, and the manager did approve the, installation of that new stop sign at Sunrise and, Glades. So that's in, and then, we did complete, or our contractor completed the, move of the ADA buttons, the pedestrian buttons at the intersection of Bar Hill and the entrance to Asbury Heights. So that's completed as well. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, all the other ADA compliance on the GLG, that's done, right? Yeah.
That was the last piece. That
The last
was an
piece.
add-on.
Yeah, so we completed the grant work that we had from the GLG grant this year, and that's all wrapped up too. We're just finalizing the payments to the contract.
What is GLG?
Green Light Go.
And neither of those programs are open back for the following year yet because of the state budget. Is that? Do you know?
Have answers.
Okay,
So, yes, the 2025 cycle, the applications were submitted in February of this year.
Right.
They have not announced any awards yet because there's no budget. However, last week they did send out an email that said we'll be accepting 2026 applications beginning in January. But they preface that with, if they don't have a budget and then last year's cycle aren't awarded, we have to reapply for the same projects under the next cycle. So we got about two months to find out if last year's applications are gonna get awarded.
did the municipality put any forward?
Yeah, we, Bower Hill and
Parkview, yeah, Parkview, that signalized intersection, it was damaged, and we're gonna replace it. It's one of our oldest intersections, I believe.
Yeah.
What Jersey barriers?
Rusty barriers?
Yeah, right turn in, right turn out on both directions. Eliminate the signal.
We're glad for that.
Cheaper. No, I think that's kind of going back to the Ella situation. It's like, it's Parkview. Oh, that's why you can't make it one way this way. It just, it continues to add up, and signals are expensive. I think that was like a $350,000 ask at Parkview in the last budget. So, I mean, at the baseline, it is an ancient signal. So, okay. I appreciate that.
Mike, when you ask about years for these, but when do the funds have to be used?
3 years.
You're waiting for 2025.
You have 3 years from when the grant agreement is signed by everybody. So they'll award it, and then there's another 6 to 8 weeks of getting 15 different signatures on there. That last signature, the date, you have 3 years from that.
So you applied in February 2025 for 2025, hasn't been granted yet, signed off.
3 years have not started.
Potentially would be 3 years out.
Correct.
Okay.
But I mean, I believe the plan would be that if it's awarded and gets under agreement, we would move forward with it.
That's 20% match, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
20%
only
municipal.
municipal, 20% municipal contribution, so those are great grants.
They're good, yeah, they're really good program,
Yeah.
and I think Lebanon's been really good at moving that forward. I know Dormont had an Artley or Green Light Go.
A lot more money.
Yeah, great. Okay, anything else, Rudy or Mr.
I could get the numbers, but I think over the years since they announced that program, it's well over $1 million, if not 2 million, that we've gotten for Mount Lebanon. and signal upgrades.
Okay,
That's all I have, so.
Chief Haber, go
I
ahead,
have a
Lisa.
Budget question, so, last budget season, $35,000 was allocated like towards, use for something recommended. Is that also going to be into the 2026 budget?
That was discretionary decision, by the commission at the end of the process. So
Okay.
if those
So-
types of funds become available, you can guarantee I will do my best.
It looked like there was 30,000 in carryover from this year, because we didn't expend those funds in the budget, but maybe I read the budget wrong.
I'd have to look.
Maybe I was trying to get on.
That'd be carryover. If it's carryover, it would be for a specific project. It's a zero-based budget, so it would only be for if it's earmarked already.
Chief Haberman, since you're here, I wanted to give you the floor if there was anything from the police to speak to.
I'm sorry?
I wanted to give you the floor, but since you're in attendance, we didn't have you on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
But since you're here, I wanted to give you the floor for anything from the police side.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think really just coming into the holiday season, I think from our perspective, we got through the Halloween parade, being associated with special events, we continue to address and continue to maintain safety there. We continue to have roving quick clear ticket patrol due to we're in a quick clear ticket cycle now for grants along with roving DUI patrols. We continue to emphasize safe driving through, again, lack of educating folks on distracted driving, dangers of distracted driving. And as we continue to emphasize those efforts, whether it's safe walking or safe driving. And really, we just did a podcast last week, not sure when it airs or will air, but we continue to really emphasize those points. So distracted driving continues to be our number one threat, continues to be our number one risk in the community. And as we continue to see effort through legislation and recent passage of legislation for that, we'll continue to see that go down. As awareness increases and enforcement continues, we will be able to actually write for those violations on June 5th of 2026. We, continue to emphasize those points. So I think that you see a number of young officers out there doing good work and really, making sure that we continue to do our part to keep everybody safe. And we're working with the school district now also on a new project. The safe walking routes has been a project that had never really been reexamined for a number of years. That was a project that really fell off through the state. So what we're doing is recommended walking routes with the school district. And again, to Commissioner Flynn's point earlier, with our alternative solutions, we're also looking at that around schools, around the immediate school area, go zones. Are there opportunities that we can look at for one-way direction at certain times? Are there opportunities for other measures that we can implement? We understand that walking has now developed into drop-offs. So we continue to see a high percentage of drop-offs every day in the school area. So we need to address that. I think with safe walking routes, Dr. Freeze and I have talked, and we really need to take a holistic approach. And again, we'll continue to keep everybody in the loop, whether it's WIBO or the active transportation plan into those things that we're doing. But we'll have a meeting here, I believe, in February is our next meeting with the school district, with their team and our team, to really look at everything and see what we can do to develop everything and update really the recommended routes, as well as, our deployment. We have 44 crossing guards. We continue to look at whether those individuals are deployed, whether posts are deployed, are they appropriately deployed? So we're employing everything from our GIS department and others that we currently have. We're starting to map out what we have and what we can do. So we are taking a very holistic approach, look at safety, whether it's standoff distances, whether it's, again, traffic routes, whether it's traffic, directional travel. And we continue to do that. So that's our new initiative for 2026. And we're hoping to get some recommendations put together in conjunction with you all for 2026-2027 school year, something that we can do. Again, we continue to try and hire enough, crossing guards, but we're not sure if that's the issue or if we just have a deployment strategy, that we need to readdress and those types of things, so. I think that, you know, we all agree that it is our number one priority, the 5,000 students of the Mount Lebanon School District, as well as the Keystone South and Keystone Oak School Districts and the parochial schools, but I think we might need to look at it a little differently than what we have and how we approach it. Yeah.
It's interesting how the school district is concerned with the safety of the children, as they rightly should be. But they have no jurisdiction over the rights of way. That's a municipal issue. That therefore falls under this board. And how do we collectively address these issues, right? Because again, from a policing perspective, right, you have enforcement, you only have so many tools in the
Yeah.
toolkit, right?
Yeah.
And so we can't expect the police department to have, you know, full responsibility of this. We need to bring the traffic engineers in. We need to inform the active transportation plan consultants about these specific discussions, because it's, you know, there's a holistic problem here. So how do we make sure that it's not, you know, just on the school district and the police department?
Right.
Because it shouldn't be. There is a bigger discussion that should be had.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're welcome to having everybody in the room, you know, should be in the room in order to do that, because we recognize that, you know, again, I think when all of these things were developed, the world was different. So the world has changed. And so if we don't change with it, we look like we either have our head in the sand or we're just, you know, obtuse to these things. And I don't think we are. I think we have big brains, and I think the people we have in the room have big brains. I think we look at these things outside the box, and I think we try and look at that and say, okay, well, you know, if we recognize that 80 to 85% of our kids are getting dropped off every day with cars, well, safe walking routes are obviously hugely important. But there may be a way that we can dovetail some of those things in with, you know, a new mechanism in order to keep the area around schools safe, you know, to the point of Ellis Street and others. You know, there may be an opportunity there to have travel direction or, you know, again, you know, other things, other measures and countermeasures, if you will, for lack of a better word, to, you know, so we agree. I mean, we absolutely want to include traffic engineers in our conversation, this group. And that hasn't been done in over 20 years. And I think that, you know, when we look at it, we're sitting here, we, you know, we're paying police officers a significant amount of money to sit on a corner with 3 people crossing it. I think we need to, and with traffic control, the latest traffic controls that you can possibly have, state of the art. I think we need to look at that and say, okay, where are we putting our money and how are we effectively utilizing that? So these are things that, you know, from my perspective, I've noticed that we've really got to look at and say, okay, you know, what are we really doing from a deployment standpoint, a manpower standpoint, and everything associated. So that's sort of what kicked it off. But I agree, you know, the next leg of it has to include all of those folks. So.
And when Chief Haberman says the young officers are out there, he really means young.
Chief, that's great to hear. Those walking routes have admittedly been a big frustration of mine. One, that they're like elementary based, and I'm like, how do I get my middle schooler over here? I have to stitch these maps together, and I think it's been a frustration from the community that they are not representative. So any way you can loop us in, I would love to be part of the process. And I think just figuring out who needs to inform who. Does the active transportation plan need to say, hey, we're seeing this as an area, and then the safe walking routes respond to that, or what the right apparatus is, because I think there's a lot of opportunity. Those drop-offs, I think, are a lot of people being like, well, it's not safe to walk there. I gotta drive them there when it's raining, or I gotta do this. And there's a better way. You know, people used to walk and it actually used to be more dangerous than it is now, or vice versa. And so how do we live the walking school district? Because school buses cost a lot, admittedly. And I don't imagine the school district is talking about it, but maybe they should. So please loop us in. I would love to be part of that process. And it's great to hear that it's happening. Appreciate the superintendent's desire on that. So I'm gonna move.
I just want to say that there is an irony to this, that we're a walking school district with 85% of our kids
it's a
being
show.
dropped off,
Yeah,
which we're creating a traffic hub around the schools and not really creating like a solution for it.
Yes.
So that's, I think, to Commissioner Flynn's point is that we need to think bigger than this, because we may say we're a walking school district, but in reality, we're not really. And if we had school buses, you would have one bus going, taking multiple kids instead of 40 cars taking individual ones.
there's a lot of layers to that. And that's a great point, Lisa. Like, what do we want our community to be? Because our school district is our community. They have the same borders.
Having, due to how dense a lot of our development is, I think I would even wonder what a school bus route would, how many kids would ride the school bus, because when you have a school bus that's going, it's taking a very circuitous route through along a distance that kids could be walking, you might find a lot of kids still get picked up by the parents so they can get home in less than a half hour.
I totally agree. I'm not saying the school buses, I'm just pointing out the fact that some of our most congested areas are these schools in a very densely like time period. And it's mostly because we don't, even though we say we're a walking district, we don't have sidewalks and routes that truly connect kids to make it a safe environment. So more and more parents, as times have changed, are dropping their children off.
Contradiction.
Yes. So we need to think about what reality is and what the likelihood of people like are, if we build sidewalks, are people more likely that their kids are gonna walk? If the answer is no, then why are we building sidewalks?
And I think it's important.
Maybe?
Yeah, conceptually.
I mean, I guess that's the question. We, I know sidewalks, I'm a big, strong proponent for sidewalks, but there's no guarantee that it's going to solve the problem.
But in the Ellis situation, it's offering a safety
Yes,
perspective because there are cars.
yes.
So maybe that.
I think that's,
But
it's
I think
not a
the,
white size fits all, right?
Yeah, I think collecting, I mean, it's hard. I think a lot of folks have done this, the city of Pittsburgh. They're doing a lot with little, but they have a safe, like somebody's job is literally the safe routes to school coordinator, and they're doing the education. And I know the police do a good job of that, but they've made this person's job to solve the problem, responding to issues that are, because the go zones are one of the folks' biggest complaints that are even driving. They're complaining about the go zones because they're inefficient operations. And the apparatus that our educators are putting into the go zones is wild too, because they are teachers. So yeah, I think there's really opportunity to change it and hopefully create the vision that we have. One trick, Chief, I don't know if you've seen it, those reverse mirror periscopes. People are flipping them upside down, so you get the experience of walking as a short person, or somebody, so you see what they see, because Mr. Bates already left, but Marlin West, you go uphill and you see a shrub and you see a hill and you can't see anything, so you just creep out to the intersection. There's a lot of shrubs in our way, Ralston Place, Bower Hill, the two turn, there's a hillside, there's this, and you can't see because of these view sheds. So it's a different view when you get out and walk and you're like, oh, I was this tall, I can't see shit.
Speaking of not a one size fits all solution, so like I know like maybe there should be some differentiation between the different elementary schools. I know in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
a lot more than 15% of kids are walking, and the average is 15, then that probably means in some neighborhoods it's 5% or less.
Well, and to the other point, real quick, not to belabor the conversation, but I think it's worth noting that, we also have to recognize different times of year will garner different levels of traffic at different schools, based on the fact that we live in a four-season climate. So because of that, there has to be recognition not only of what people are actually doing and how we react to it and how we're responding to it and allow for those safety measures to occur, but really implementing those seasonally as well. So I think that that's the other thing we're looking at in terms of just the reality of the changes, the reality of the behaviors. And I think as opposed to forcing behavior, I think we need to recognize what's being done and how to make that the safest we possibly can.
Just ask two quick tactical questions while you're here, Chief.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are things going with the new no cell phone law since June? And are you seeing much in the way of kids with electric devices, scooters and things?
Yeah, I mean, we continue to see a lot of electric scooters out there. We continue to educate young kids through our school programs, and we do a number of school programs. We've tailored and actually updated our school program as kids get into middle school and as we start to see them really elevating their use of those types of devices, those types of bicycles or machine, whatever you want to call them. So we continue to educate students and parents alike. You know, really it is a key to the parents. The parents have to understand the limitations. While things are sold, it doesn't mean that they're allowed. They're two completely different things. So this is very much heavily weighted on the parents educating their kids. We don't, and I will not get into a campaign of enforcement of 12-year-old riding scooters. We will educate and we will continue to educate, continue to use those outlets and those opportunities to do that. And we'll make sure that we do that in a way that makes sense. And so whenever it comes to those kinds of things, yes, we see that. We continue to update and educate everybody we can, from parents to.
Is it trending in a direction? Are you seeing more?
I mean, I think the more available they become and the more advanced in technology they become, I think the more, we have a well-resourced community that will probably reach out. After Christmas and holidays, we'll probably see a spike, as we do with anything else, as we did years ago with everything from hoverboards and everything else that's, very, very, in fashion and faddish. But so we'll continue to keep an eye out for those things. And as far as distracted driving, yeah, we consider that to be our number one threat in terms of what it is. We don't have super highways in Mount Lebanon. We don't have areas of really high speed relative to other communities, I'll say. I know that's debatable. I'm just saying, we don't have, when I say that, I mean, we don't have 55-mile-an-hour, 65-mile-per-hour roadways. So because of that, what we continue to see is distracted driving, number one reason for, and number one, contributor to crashes. And so we continue to emphasize that, and we will continue to emphasize that as our number one priority. Our DUIs have continued to decrease through the years. Distracted driving has replaced it in terms of what it creates and what it causes in terms of injury and damage to others. So we continue to make that our number one priority. Thank you.
And citation starts in June of 2026.
June 5th of 2026.
So, but your officers can pull over
Oh, yeah.
warnings,
We do. And we have,
education, all that.
yep, we have education pamphlets we've been handing out. Continue to emphasize that. Yep.
Right.
Just one, I'm sorry, one last point around the sidewalks and school drop-offs. Do we notice any change with Woodland, or would there be, is it kind of too early to tell
I've not.
whether that 15% is now, what, yeah. Hard to say, yeah.
If anyone from Woodland is online, I would, if anyone's online, I'd ask them to come out and say. Thank you.
Right.
Or-
Well,
No, thank you,
the
but yeah.
commission has received thank
Okay.
yous. And, residents saying that they're happy, but beyond that, no data.
Yeah, but that goes to the heart of like discussions of following up to like capital investment, like getting some data to see, did this make a meaningful change? Did it do what it was intended to do?
Yeah. With that, I will go to the subcommittee reports and start with capital budget.
Yeah, we didn't have a meeting, but I guess what I'm wondering about though, for the one sidewalk that we I thought we did have funded, perhaps it was Greenhurst.
Greenhurst is 2026, I believe.
2026,
Yeah,
Sound
it's not-
familiar?
It's not funded yet until the
It, so,
budget's approved.
right, it's
Okay.
it's in the
It's the highest
proposed.
priority.
Is it above the line or below?
I don't know. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't
I
know for
I
sure.
think it is, but I'm not 100%.
But above the line?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it is. I just looked, but no. And did we have a conversation about Salem before? Was that on a study or?
They requested
Yeah,
it.
they requested a study.
Okay.
I don't know if we made a recommendation or not.
Well, at the time the recommendation was, let's hopefully get it looked at as part of the transportation plan. I think that probably fell off the wayside.
Okay.
Do we have any studies outstanding or at this time?
That, new recommendations, I don't
No,
think so.
okay, all right. That's it for capital budget.
Go to policy and street design. I know they didn't meet, but, I know, John, you're trying to schedule one, but
We did not meet in October. We are in the final stages of scheduling our November meeting.
Under old business, I had Ralston Place and Bower Hill Road. I know we received a presentation from folks there, but this is a kind of to the whole conversation. This is an intersection that is a school crossing. And there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of layers. So I don't have any specific recommendations now, other than I got the bus adjacent to the house that has had their house run into several times, and I did not like it. It's not a good intersection, if you've not been in it, but, no specific recommendations, I don't think at this time. So there's discussion items or.
Well, I think just anything we can do to make that crossing livable in the short term. I mean, there's a lot that can be done, but I think if we're just looking for that intersection is deadly.
Yeah, I think Bower Hill Road as a whole, because there was Marlin was brought up in a different context, the intersection of Marlin and Bower Hill, we received an email on that. I believe there was a traffic study done on Bower Hill Road. Not prior to us, but maybe 3 to 4 years ago.
Is that part of Altoona Mapleton for traffic volumes?
I don't know.
There was some traffic calming down there. That's been longer than that. That's been 15, 20 years ago.
You know, the only one I remember is, I don't remember who did it, it might have been Panoni, they did something like LTAP.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the sections and roadways that we asked them to look at.
Is it,
Because it was that program was PennDOT dollars to assist municipalities with taking a look at non-state owned roadways, and that section of Bower Hill is on Lebanon's. So I think they looked at it from Cochran up to Washington, yeah.
we have a policy on like collection of data, like when we would deploy them, like could we, if we requested on Bower Hill Road, just to have the data in kind of a repository before study, like I think the police deploy that, but if we had them collect the data on that street.
I don't know if there's a policy of that, and typically anything like that has come from.
It's just
Petitioner
forwarded to the
coming in and
manager
ask.
if the board makes a request before, and the police department, I know they have devices they put out. We're talking traffic counts and volume.
Yeah, like
volume
the typical process.
Yeah.
I think, and we used for our last, I think the data I shared with the group a couple of months ago for Washington Road, we used a PennDOT traffic study where they'll do the volume study and we'll dovetail that in with our speed. And usually present that to the manager or any kind of, but yeah, our speed data capture signs or we deploy it.
Is that something we'd wanna, that the board would wanna do on Bower Hill Road, or we'd wanna wait, I guess, until
What?
collect speed data?
Well, what data do we have already, or even if it's a bit old? What was this?
I would throw away anything pre-pandemic, cause things have changed.
It's not just the age of the data, but also it's like what was actually in the scope, like you said speed, but like speed. we were just talking about problems with Ella Street that had nothing to do with
Yeah, I
speeding.
don't-
I don't know if that crosswalk has adequate stopping sight distance for the legal speed limit. And if obviously if there are people speeding on that street, it's even worse. But that's a geometric issue, that's not a speeding issue. So it's like, what do we have? What was been done before
Fair question.
would inform anything we ask for subsequently?
Yeah, I guess, could we, if we have that Panoni or any of that, if there's anything on Bower Hill Road, can we just make a request to try to pull anything into the transportation board folder? We can.
Oh, it's a pretty long road.
Well,
Yeah,
the
but-
municipal portion.
Yeah, so only that portion of this.
Yeah.
I think
Single
like
lane.
the area with the crosswalk is the area that we're primarily
That's
focused
what,
on.
yeah, the crossing guard is. But yeah, I think, I mean, anything we have between, Washington Road and Cochran would be great.
So just to clarify, we're asking if we have any.
Yep, and then,
Existing data.
and we can go from there.
Okay.
That works for folks, before we ask for more.
Okay.
Data.
The issue with one car pulling out when the other car is blocking in sight line is also a geometric issue, not a speed issue.
Correct. Yeah, it would just be interesting to see if there were any recommendations that haven't been employed from any of that, and we can go from there, so. I'm gonna suggest we table, I had Edward Avenue, on there just because there was some discourse there. I think those folks are trying to think about how they want to proceed forward, and Mr. Sugel provided some materials back to that request, so stand by on that, but I did want to add Ella Street as kind of new business for a recommendation from the board, what we want to do. It's a many layered thing, so once again, it's like the sidewalk's not gonna solve it, speed bumps don't, like, it's all these things.
It would be a great opportunity for a simple like paint poles project.
Yeah.
Where you create a protected lane for kids that keep cars out. Minimally invasive, but just something to give them a protected and just kind of see how that would go.
Yeah, cause I was curious, it's like 25, 26 feet, so one way then creates another, if you make it one way, then you create another problem, cause then you've got, nobody really parks in there, cause they all have driveways, so then, so you got.
Protected pedestrian lane, just
Yeah.
to trial it in
Yeah.
the short term versus spending, I don't know how expensive that sidewalk would be, and it would kind of.
Sidewalks plus.
You're not dealing with a high high speed area, right? Cause it's not like a main road.
It's just the volume.
Really just need a
like-
protected space for
Yes.
kids. So I feel like something like that could be effective.
And I would hate to cut down, go through the whole process, retaining walls, trees, right? Like, if you just put some paint and flex posts inside the curb. And then you bumped out that area, like,
Well, you still have to, you have to clear it, snow
Yeah.
clearing and all that fun stuff, so just keep in mind.
well, maybe those 20 volunteers would show.
That one at the sidewalk, you could just.
I'm not, yeah.
I don't know if that's feasible or not,
But
but
it's at the
if
street level, that so,
it makes it harder for plowing, yeah, but I don't think that. We try it,
Snow too, it's not just the snow that falls there, it's the snow that we plow into that space, yeah. From the roadway.
Well, they don't have to shovel their sidewalk, so they can shovel that space.
yeah. There you go.
feeling that those
So through the road
residents,
while they're at it.
somebody on that street would get a snowplow or a snow blower and
And
just blow that
Right,
lane.
yeah, street.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
Rudy.
right.
People are motivated. You give people what they're asking for and just try it.
you prototype it in that, that block or those, couple blocks.
Well, I
Yeah,
think-
what stretch of it are you proposing to put the pole?
Oh, well, like the length of, whatever the length that they're requesting for sidewalks, like just instead of putting in a sidewalk, you just try a protected. Basically, it would be like a bike lane, but for
Yeah.
people to walk in. And it's very inexpensive. If it doesn't work, you just pop them out. But if it does work and somebody on that street wants to use their snow blower and like. I think we can expect more from people. Like they genuinely want something and maybe they're willing to maintain it. And then if it doesn't work out, how much have we invested in paint and flex
Well,
posts?
maybe like the bump out with the poles where there's that section that the children come from, that little path.
Well,
Like
especially,
not-
yeah, so there's that cut through that's on Ella.
Yeah.
That cuts through all the way up to,
Jefferson or-
right, well, it doesn't, then you have to cross the highway, right, to get to Jefferson, because it
There's
doesn't,
crossing
but
guard
there's a
there.
crossing guard there, yes, so there's that portion, then maybe up to the, the curve of the road that goes to Salem, so that
Yeah, I
might
don't
be.
know the road well enough
Yeah.
to say like where I think they should go, but
Yeah.
I think be creative in this situation because we're not dealing with like a Bower Hill, Washington Road, high volume, high speed. We're just looking for like some shelter from cars.
Agreed.
So short of solving the problem right
Yes,
here.
it's not a solution.
In the next 45 hours. I might suggest that the board, vote to approve or to support this to the commission for consideration of not, of potentially sidewalks, but in the short term also consider, short-term alternatives that, would be considered by staff, traffic engineer, police, for short-term implementation.
For children's safety.
For
not
children's
blocking
safety.
traffic.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yes. So,
It could be a number of things.
We're not solutioning, we're recommending it, look.
Consider solutions.
Yes.
I do think paint and poles might be a good solution for a bump out on the one side where there's a no parking compliance issue. But as far as a sidewalk or not a sidewalk, the residents claim they've met the requirements for the sidewalk expansion policy. So would there be the main reason I think you'd want to do something temporary, if you assume that they could get a sidewalk in a couple of years, is if you were specifically trying to reduce the traveled way or something, like to actually, if you're just doing a traditional sidewalk where you're actually expanding the street into front yards, then that's not really controversial, I guess. It would just, like, you could just go through the regular policy, like they want a sidewalk, I guess they qualify for applying, and we could recommend that as is. Unless we wanted to narrow the street for traffic calming, then maybe a paint poles pedestrian path.
I think that just the reality, the practical reality is that sidewalks take a long time.
Yeah.
Right? So, so long as they qualify, right, the board wants to, I see no reason to not support that petition. Knowing that it's just going to go on a list until it's time to prioritize it with all the other streets for a sidewalk and then hopefully get it funded in some budget cycle in the future. But as an interim, we would recommend also considering asking staff to look at temporary solutions as a opportunity to address children's safety on Ella, or that complements the school district's efforts to.
So, yeah, I mean, I endorse sidewalks in a walking school district, or as a minimum, it was like a baseline requirement. It is hard to retrofit that, and they should have built them in the first place, but they didn't.
Yes.
So it's like, but yeah, every street, when we touch it, the complete streets policy, we should look at that street, like, okay, it's a concrete street, when we redo it, what are we gonna do here, and do that at that point? But to the commissioner's point, yeah, I think potential motion, or if anyone has any other discussion, I was gonna make a motion that maybe encapsulates some of this, but.
It seems to me there are two problems. There's the crossing safety, and then there's the access for children walking along the street without being forced into the street or people's yards because there are cars parked on the curb. So it seems like there are two issues, and maybe two motions would be appropriate.
Sure, do you wanna make one? Or both?
Can I formulate one on the spot?
I would also like to submit the sidewalk is not ADA accessible, the right of way access is not ADA accessible, it has 4 steps at the bottom, but. In a long-term investigation,
Is that the cut for the cut through?
yeah,
Oh,
if there's a possible way to do that, but I think there's slope is a significant area.
Slope on
Yeah.
the sidewalk is probably.
But if there was
You
at
have
least
to
a ramp,
walk
give
up
somebody an
the ramp.
option, but yeah, I don't know if once we trigger something and touch it, do we have to get it there? Or make best technical attempts?
well, you're not really touching the cut through, you're only really talking about reviewing the street and possibly using like a portion as a lane as a safe walk.
Do we salt and plow those rights away? Or like-
There.
The roads,
Yeah, no, that cut through like.
That cut through,
Okay.
yeah.
contract, we use a contractor to do it, but yeah. it's fun.
I mean, at some point, if they would have to rebuild it or repair it, then you would have to look at
We
ADA.
did that not too long ago, 5, 6 years ago, something like that. Should hopefully last.
There are outs for, the ADA has outs for like.
Technical
have-
feasibility,
technical
yeah.
feasibility.
So our recommendation doesn't necessarily like exempt their petition for sidewalks. Our recommendation is basically to send something to the committee to review and look as a alternate or interim solution.
Yep.
But that doesn't take the residents' rights away to continue to ask for a sidewalk.
Yep.
So I'm not sure we need 2 motions, but I'm not opposed.
I guess we need to make a motion on if we just, do we recommend the sidewalk petition move forward?
Yes, table it to next week, next month.
Yes.
Or you can just let it die. It's your board.
I just know how hard sidewalks are. I mean,
I agree with you.
sidewalks are so hard and we're talking about a lot of kids, a lot of cars, and we could sit here and have the same conversation in 6 more months.
Yep.
And I think that we need to start taking action and sidewalks are slow and expensive. So let's kind of push the municipality to get creative. This seems like a good test case.
Yep.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't get sidewalks, but I'm just saying like, let's see if this works. Oh, this worked there, then we could try it on
Yeah.
this street.
Yep.
Like, let's get something rolling.
This is not Kelso,
Agreed.
that's a state street.
Agreed.
This is a street
This
that
just, it just seems.
would be a very good test case. I agree.
Let's just do a combined motion. I make a motion to recommend that we evaluate interim solutions for Ellis Street and the connection to the school district, taking into account the activity and the need, and evaluate interim solutions coupled with providing support for the long-term sidewalk petition. And would anyone like the second said action? Any discussion? We already had discussion. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right.
Request you email that to us.
Yeah.
Works 3 words, then.
We are recording, but yes, I can come up with something a little more valuable, but.
That was really good.
And you do it again.
Yeah, I am full of shit, so there's more.
So may I.
I don't think we have any further business. I was gonna say that, Chief, I appreciate you being here tonight and the scooter question. People for Bikes is addressing it. It is not a problem just with Mount Lebanon, as we know. It's a state problem. It's a national problem. They are getting cheaper and they are out there. And I don't want to take freedom away, but I don't want it to create. It's a problem in a lot of layered ways, and it's just
Yeah.
creating a problem. So, but People for Bikes has they're doing a series on this, and I don't know if it has recommendations, but I'm gonna share that with our board just for sake of sharing information, so. But with that, I would like to announce that our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 2nd at 6 p.m. back in our normal room, I believe. And I would like to make an emotion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
Yes, yeah, no, I'm.
Yes, exactly.
I'm. So.
I'm going to-